Mazda RX-7 FD, Supra Mk4, and Skyline R34. You've seen these cars, even the non-car guys know them. Today, an RX-7 can cost over $100,000, Supra Mk4 might be a steal at that price, and an R34 Skyline? One nearly hit $2 million. But these cars haven't just set price records, they've sparked debates, divided fans, and split opinions right down the middle. To some, they're dream machines, flawless pieces of automotive art that defined a generation. To others, they're overhyped, overpriced relics stuck in a time warp. So what's the deal with this whole JDM thing? How did these cars rise to such legendary status, where even their price tags are iconic? And let's cut to the chase. Are these overrated kids' cars truly worth the hype, or have we all just been blinded by nostalgia? Let's talk JDM's Holy Trinity. This is Turbo Talk. JDM stands for Japanese Domestic Market, but let's be real, it means so much more than that. To us gearheads, it's a lifestyle. It's about late night meets under neon lights, cruising through the streets with the windows down, horsepower and speed, and of course, cute Japanese shorties. But how did all of this come to be? What's the origin of the JDM lifestyle? Let's start with the late 80s and 90s, where it all began. Back then, Japan was going all out. It was almost as crazy as we are, thinking they could face a whole continent in car production. Mazda, Toyota, and Nissan were giving everything they had and more against those Europeans. Their cars were not like anything else out there. The RX-7's rotary engine was a high-revving, screaming banshee that could drift through a corner like butter on a hot pan. The Supra's 2JZ engine was a beefy, over-engineered masterpiece that could handle ridiculous amounts of power without breaking a sweat. And the R34 GTR. Let's just say Godzilla isn't a nickname you get for nothing. It came loaded with advanced tech and all-wheel drive that could embarrass cars worth twice as much on the track. While others were figuring out checkers, Japan was playing 4D chess. But still, how did they get so big? Sure, they were fast, but there's no shortage of fast cars in the world. What made these cars different? The answer lies in the culture. It was more than just numbers on a spec sheet, it was a feeling, an underground movement. Japan had a legendary street racing scene. We're talking illegal midnight runs down the Wangan Highway, drifting battles through the foggy mountain roads of Hakone, places where skill, speed, and style were speaking more than people. And in this underground world, these cars were kings. Then something magical happened. You hit that subscribe button. Just kidding, Hollywood and gaming. Remember the first time you saw a Supra outrun a Ferrari on the big screen? Or when it flew past a speeding train in an unforgettable showdown? We all know where this is headed, the Fast and the Furious. This movie had an astronomical impact on the car culture, and it's much more than just a movie. And so became the Supra, much more than just a car. It was a symbol of rebellion, speed, and style. And it wasn't just the movies. Video games played an equally massive part. Need for Speed, Gran Turismo, Forza, they brought these legends into our living rooms. You didn't need to own an RX-7 to experience one. You could just fire up your console, tune it, race it, and drift it to your heart's content. These cars became more than just a way to get from point A to B. They became part of a culture that spanned the globe, or map for flat earthers, from Tokyo to LA, from the streets to your PlayStation. But let's pump the brakes for a sec. Are these cars truly as legendary as we make them out to be? Or are we just blinded by nostalgia and some slick movie scenes? Let's take a step back. The RX-7, why is it worth over $100,000 now? It's a car with a rotary engine that's notoriously finicky, and if you're not careful, it can drink oil like it's water. The Supra? Sure, it's got the legendary 2JZ, but is a 6-digit price tag for a car that came out in 1993 really worth it? And then there's the R34 Skyline. $2 million? For what? All-wheel drive and some fancy digital gauges? There's a school of thought that says the prices are pure hype, driven by nostalgia, movies, and a few well-placed Instagram posts. Some say these cars have become more about status and style than actual performance. And let's face it, today's modern cars, like the new Toyota GR Supra or the Nissan GTR, are faster, safer, and more reliable. So, are these classics just living off their past glory? Alright, enough of the hate. Let's give these legends the respect and this video the like they deserve. It's easy to call them overrated, but there's a reason they became icons in the first place. The Mazda RX-7 wasn't just about its rotary engine, it was about perfect balance. Mazda engineered a car that could dance through corners. It had near-perfect weight distribution, a lightweight body, and an engine that could rev to the moon. From the early days of Group C racing to the legendary battles at Le Mans, the RX-7 proved that it could hang with the best of them. It wasn't just built for speed, it was built for pure, unfiltered driving pleasure. And those pop-up headlights? Come on, who doesn't love them? The Toyota Supra was quite the opposite, a masterpiece of engineering. The 2JZ engine is a legend not just for its strength, but because it was built like a tank. Toyota went all out to make sure this engine could handle serious power, and that's why it became a tuner's dream. You could push a 2JZ to 800, 900, even 1000 horsepower without it breaking a sweat, and it redefined what a sports car could do, even years after it left the factory. It's an engine that dares you to dream big and build bigger. And the R34 GTR? This was a car ahead of its time. With ATTESA all-wheel drive and HICAS four-wheel steering, it could embarrass cars that were supposed to be way out of its league. It was technical, it was powerful, and it was an absolute monster on the track. Wherever it showed up, it turned heads and silenced doubters. When people call it Godzilla, they're not just referencing its Japanese roots, they're talking about a beast that devours everything in its path. So, what's left of their legacy? Are these cars just relics of a bygone era, or do they still matter today? Well, if you've been paying attention, you already know the answer. They're still everywhere. They show up at car shows, they're recreated in video games, and they're still the cars everyone dreams of. But it's not just about the cars themselves, it's what they represent. They're the embodiment of a culture that values speed, creativity, and individuality. The RX-7, Supra, and R34 GTR paved the way for future generations of enthusiasts. They taught us that a car isn't just a means of transport, it's a form of self-expression. And while the world is shifting toward electric cars, hybrids, and eco-friendly solutions, the spirit of these JDM legends lives on. It's in the custom exhausts, the aftermarket turbos, and the late-night drives with your crew. It's in every kid who picks up a wrench for the first time, dreaming of building their perfect car. So, to finally answer the question, no. These cars are not overrated, because they did something that few cars ever did. They ignited a passion. They got so many of us into cars, into speed, into the pursuit of something greater than just getting from point A to B. They taught us that cars could be art, that they could be personal, living entities, as Jeremy Clarkson put it. And no matter what some may say, passion is something you cannot put a price tag on, and nor are our childhood heroes.
Oh,